All systems go as I shout into the universe one more time here, declaring something about digital art in 2025. It feels significant, doesn't it? Into the microphone we go. Artist Journal, January 31st, 2025, broadcasting from a mic, a laptop, and the truth in Berlin, Germany. To quote our other friend, Bob Dylan, who is not in the stars yet, but definitely a huge star. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. On a mission. The time is short, and in many ways, in the big picture as well as in our window of time today, great news. So I made the video. For the onboarding. It hasn't been published yet because I just have to do a couple of things. I think I need to make a thumbnail for it, actually, which is kind of funny. Something I haven't really had to worry about, but I think when you're doing, it's going to be called How to Sell Digital Art on Tezos. We're going for the masses on that one. We'll see how it does. Maybe it just gets 100 views. Who knows? But the important thing, I suppose, is for those people who are watching, who have been watching from a distance and trying to figure out how it works. I have many friends, actually, who still have no clue. It's like, so the Bitcoin moves, but where is it? Where's the Bitcoin? I don't get it. Hopefully this will begin to help. As I tell people, though, the ultimate way of learning this is by doing. If you're wondering how this all works, the video will tell you how to do, but you have to do in order to figure it out. So that should be out tomorrow morning, is what I'm aiming for. So let's begin. Nuv 1914. These are pretty interesting floral works here that we're seeing from Nuv 1914, especially from a distance. Because what's kind of interesting about it, first of all, is again just how exotic it is. We're back to that word. What is this? It's some sort of weird circular brush, right? Something that Nuv is using. If we look at the top, the bottom looks like maybe, I don't know, a bowl of fruit in black and white. You see how, this is, to me, everybody can have their own interpretation. To me, this is super sophisticated. I mean, look at what we're looking at here. We're seeing a brush or mark making I've never seen before with this weird circular, again, courage. Nuv 1914 out of Buenos Aires. Courage is the word I think of. Aesthetic courage. Nuv 1914. We had her on the Spaces in, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago. Super interesting, very nice personality. But aesthetic courage is really how I feel about Nuv, because she takes difficult, aesthetically challenging, as we like to say here, or aesthetically difficult, I almost want to call it propositions, as if this is some sort of logical, formula. To a certain degree, it is. Dare I say it, as we enter pataphysics here, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Taking aesthetically challenging situations or propositions and making, again, pulling a rabbit out of a hat, especially from a distance, and then you see the gradients moved in, making pretty interesting work. It makes you want to look up closer because you're not sure, and then you look up close and you go, it's pretty darn interesting. It's actually quite beautiful. It's very challenging, and it's say, take this little region right here. Just to be specific. It's always good to be specific, right? Generalities are sometimes lost, abstractions. Let's be specific. Look at what's going on right here. It almost feels like a similar feel to paint splattering. You get this chaos here. It fills in here, but here you just get little specks. If you see where my little magnifying glass is here, you get a little bit of even gradient. Stuff like right there, it's very painterly, is how I describe this stuff. And painterly meaning the same that we would use with canvas, oil or acrylic on canvas, meaning you see the paint. It's sort of like Clement Greenberg, flattening the canvas, and it's about the paint on the canvas, so to speak, is almost what I'd argue we're talking about when we say painterly. And you start to see there's a texture, a feeling of the physicality. Now, this is a weird situation because we're digital, of course, and it's flat. Nevertheless, there's something which evokes that physical texture when we're working digitally. I'd argue you start to get it here. You could argue even the whole thing. Like when you look at this, it's maybe not the best example of texture, so to speak. But there is a phenomenon, I would argue, in digital art where you start to get like almost like the visual field is tricked into perceiving texture, even though, of course, we're on a 2D screen. Interesting, right? What we call digital texture over here. It's kind of interesting. Like, it's not like I've read every book on digital art. So I wonder to myself, I've hardly read any. And I kind of like that because I can go in as a naive, in the J.G. Ballard sense of the term, referring to, he celebrated Dali as a naive. I believe Max Ernst, William Burroughs, Andy Warhol, these people who go with almost no preconceptions, almost like we think of, Henri Rousseau, the customs agent, Henri Le Douanier Rousseau, who just kind of painted, naively, sometimes called outsider artists. It would be another way of putting it. Maybe, I don't know if that's more what people call them now. Naive seems kind of pejorative, but in Ballard's sense, it was a compliment. Someone who doesn't come in with any assumptions and just kind of gets to know the reality on their own terms, so to speak. So it's kind of fun. So I wonder to myself, just to wrap up the point, as we need to move on here, I wonder how much is being said, about digital textures out there. It's kind of fun. I guess I could do a search, but time is nigh, my friends. Let's continue. Another beautiful one. And I kind of love how, at first this looks like a framing device, the top and the bottom, but then you go, oh, okay, now is this a window? And again, we have this, what I'd call painterliness, despite it looking like almost like vector. It's almost like painting with vector, right? And then with gradient. And which brings up an interesting point, because from a technical point of view, and of course, signature line here, and these little irrationalities that just are pure poetry for me here. The more you see Nuv's work, the more you really appreciate these little, to me, signature moves. Like, let's say Nuv just made this on her, put out a new style, and I didn't see the name. If I saw this, though, I'd go, oh, okay. It's kind of like Yuri J with the mosaic filter, right? It's kind of like, it's like signing their name. I was talking about the framing device. Interesting crop. Is it a window? Is it a frame that's just, but, we just cut it off here? We'll just put it across. Again, these irrationalities, these gaps in reason, dare I say, of, oh, we're not going to put the left frame or the right frame of this window, which is what your reason wants you to do. Again, the reality principle, Freud, reason rationalizes reality for us. Like we want to, and pattern recognition, what is thinking, understanding, pattern recognition is one kind of major, I guess, theory, I suppose. We kind of always want to rationalize reality. And so one of the functions you could argue of art is to upset this, reasoning machine that is our internal monologue, right? And perhaps, just perhaps, that's part of the satisfaction and the value, the true value of art. Dare I say it? One of the values we could say. Anyways, more beautiful work. What happened on the market? Because that's always a fun kind of narrative as well. $850, so sold out. This works. Took a couple of days for this gorgeous work to sell out. Edition of 3. And some people, sometimes we get spoiled with Nuv and go, oh, if only it was a one of one, maybe I don't need to collect that. But you only need to go to Die with the Most Likes, 4, 6, Hasdrubal Waffle, 3, 6, edition of 6. And you go, oh, in a sense, that's an opportunity missed for some of us collectors here. Planta de Frutilla, another one. And again, you see this exploration here, right? And I'm just such a huge fan of releasing a lot of work. I keep on hoping it's going to be like as of tomorrow. I'm just going to be releasing and everything. You just got to make that, 1 hour. I think 1 hour a day is enough to, and I generally do that, but you just need to release work 1 hour a day. Anyway, we have that interesting top-bottom framing device here. Again, feels it's like the irrationality of it. Even interesting little landscape work there. Let's continue. This is some of Nuv's old work, which I thought I'd bring up here. Kind of reminiscent of Zozo, interestingly. I thought they were the same person. They're not the same person. But some of their, and some of these, look at this. So, I mean, we can go way back to 2021. What do we see? Flowers done in an experimental way. Really, one of the lights, I would say, of the scene we follow here. Fantastic artist. I mean, the first time you see this, you go, ooh, that's weird. But the more you see it, the more you realize, oh, this is like super sophisticated in my universe here. More sophistication. After Henri Matisse, same artist, Nuv 1914, Argentina, Buenos Aires, I believe. So more doing classics here, masterpieces with doing basically a treatment, remix of, so to speak. And look at this frame. Again, reason would say, oh, this should be a diagonal. This is what we would all do, I would argue. But what does Nuv do? No, I'm just going to leave it like that. And so, interestingly, taking in a sense, it's less work, what Nuv's doing, but I'd argue it's more poetic. Many of us, if not all of us, would be going, okay, this frame has to look like a frame, so it's got to be there, and we'd put all this extra work in. Nuv does less, but has more poetic effect, because it's like, well, that's outrageous. How can you do that? And all of a sudden, you're curious, and you're going, what is this? What is this Harmonia Azul remix? This is after Botero Española. So interesting. So Botero, who I've learned a lot about this year, traveling to Argentina, and also through Nuv's works here. So really fabulous, fabulous artists. I think of the tour that my Buenos Aires friends gave me of the art museum over there. Also Puntilla. Awesome. So more experimentation. This is the consistent thing we see about Nuv more than anything is, I'm kind of back to courage. Aesthetic courage. I dare do this, and you guys can all take it or leave it. Here it is, and I'm going to do it so much and you're eventually going to like it. And that's oftentimes that's what happens. Bold and courageous. Let's continue. Absurdity. Nice showing. 367 tuned in. So Absurdity, bring in the crowd, which is awesome. So fascinating space. It's in the feed. I am doing well. I've updated a few on Spotify. I want to get up to date ASAP. But first the video. The onboarding video. Then we will do Spotify and maybe a Bitcoin after that. Now, I turned on the ads. I crossed the gulf. I have made the leap. I have turned on the ads. And what was interesting, I did get a bunch of views. Because this is maybe this is just people catching up. But it was kind of low, and then I turned on the ads, and interestingly, so it'll be interesting to watch what happens here. So yeah, let's look at the comments here. But I have made the leap. I figured in a sense, I should have done it a long time ago. As I say, it's kind of like for me a precious space here for me. I speak freely, and so I do it with some reservation. But I figured with the onboarding video at this point, I am definitely providing a service, and it's sort of at that point I make no qualms. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting paid, right? So anyways, let's continue. However, let me just say this. If you want to watch commercial free, and I won't say this too many more times, if you want to watch commercial free, you can always go to X, right? That is still being published there and will continue to be with all the huge support that it gets there. So just so you know. So you're not stuck with the commercials if you're watching this, okay? Ed Marola, so we were talking about digital poetics, and Ed mentioned it, and I was like, I wonder what exactly Ed means. I find it fascinating to talk about the specifics of the digital medium as a support for poetics, because the poetics of paper, canvas, gallery space, all have been extensively covered. However, the digital realm is still underrepresented as far as I know. Interesting. And it's almost like this digital texture. right, is perhaps an example of this. I once had a very interesting talk with a friend who is more into the contemporary art world, and I completely blew her mind, in her words, in everything concerning digital, game aesthetics, and all that is native to computer and software. I suspect this is going to happen. Like, I don't think that the trad or contemporary art world is really aware of the conversation we're all having with each other visually and in words and in images. And you're going to see, like, you should see Yuri J, and we have Kanik Zapata here. We just saw Nev. This isn't one person who's kind of running away with the prize. This is like a whole stampede of brilliant, sophisticated artists, dare I say. In my mind, I'm constantly thinking about a few aspects. Let's see, the fact that video games now have shaped the very sense of self of multiple generations. I suppose, like, video games really came into vogue, late 70s? Atari? So at least two. The storytelling at a game, I mean, if we can, I guess it depends how we define generations. So I'm Gen X. So yeah, anyways, the storytelling at a game, I'm barely Gen X, almost millennial. I'm right on the line there at 79. The storytelling at a game is very different from linear media. Interesting. There is a choose your own adventure aspect to video games, isn't there? It's a different narrative structure. And very interesting and important point that could be overlooked, as one is confronted by the agency over the characters. Exactly. So choose your own adventure structure, right? We get to decide how far is Mario's jump, for example. Exactly. Brilliant. How does that change our perceptions of self in the individual level and in the collective level? Right. And in media, like, all of a sudden you're controlling the figure in the media and you are identifying with it in a way that perhaps traditional film and television, you don't necessarily feel like you're in it, but maybe you identify in it with a video game that, you know, to your point, Ed, that you're in it. Interesting. I mean, again, how much is this being discussed here? I'm sure it's being discussed in the academia, but I love our simple, plain-spoken conversation here. Also, until the digital age, copies were never equal to the original. This is interesting as well. The copy and paste tool has given people a new powerful art-making instrument. You're absolutely right. You see artists like, I mean, Ed uses copy and paste, I'm pretty sure, even just sampling. I mean, that's kind of like sampling. We're kind of back to techno to a certain degree, but you think of Dan Control, right? Great use of repetition. Same with the undo function. Huge. Totally agree. This changes everything. And in a sense, not always for the better, right? Because you can just go, oh, I can always undo this, so you don't commit in the same way, one could argue, that you might have to with physical. How marvelous is that? But again, this is the virtue also of undo, because if you screw up, you can just go back. What does it mean to art, though, to leave a mistake when it's so easy to undo an unwanted gesture? So Ed is bringing up this entire issue. Yeah, beautifully. Beautiful. The poetics of the image created in the digital realm is very different from other media. This is also profound. And this is something that I've slowly come to the realization of as well as I've done this show, which is we're in a completely different medium here, which is stating the obvious. But it's quite different. It's surprisingly different. Like, when I first came to it, I go, oh, it's composition. It shares so much with painting and the history of art. But I would argue digital media, to Ed's point here, undo, copy and paste, these simple basic features of digital art it's like it becomes so different that it becomes almost like a parallel type tradition. Like, it starts to become, it is a part of the visual arts tradition, but it's fundamentally different from painting in its technical capacity. In a sense, we're seeing technology at work, to state the obvious. So it's super interesting, right? Like, again, I've come to a very slow, the most hardest realizations to make, I'd argue, are the simplest, the most basic. And one of those basic realizations is how different digital art is from, traditional art. We tend to think of it as just like a continuation. And in some respects it is. In other respects, we're in a very alien territory. Interestingly, fascinatingly. And I think this is exactly, and Ed's just outlining everything beautifully. The relationship between light and dark, the emission, the screen sizes, the pricing of the material, the themes, all that, I love it, speaks to me at a very deep level. So beautifully put here, Ed, and thank you for the elaborate explanation on digital poetics. I love it. Vulioli, this was hilarious. I want to give a like to this one. I thought this was a channel that was talking about art. It's just NFTs and AI, quite setting. I mean, honestly, this makes me bullish. You know, to me, it blows my mind. Have they listened? You know, I hope they're listening to this conversation we're having here today. Because if this, what is art to them? I kind of want to, maybe I should just ask, what is art then? What is art to you? Because and people make art for different reasons, and people even consume art for different reasons. But I see poetry here, profound poetry. And so but this is, in a sense, this is what we are still facing. And it's bullish, ultimately, because if everybody's on board, it's already over and we'll have missed the train. So interesting. I hope, thanks for the comment, and I hope you keep watching. I hope you keep an open mind. Let's quickly look here. Human Boy, great episode as always. Thank you, Human Boy. I can't wait to take after the Louvre and put my digital art behind a paywall. Yeah, I think we've all thought about that, but then you think for about half a second and you realize it's probably not a good idea. No looking until you pay me, as it's all about the money. It does seem like a cash grab, doesn't it? Putting the Mona Lisa in its own little thing. There is a practical element to it of the kind of the overcrowding. And actually we have a great comment from, I think, Amelia Versace on this. I'm sure with layered tokens, you have mentioned this is possible. Exactly. But I just, of course. Yeah. And, the more token gating and all this, the more I'm kind of the less crypto, the better, is kind of my philosophy on this whole digital art thing. And I love crypto, by the way, for the record. But as far as the more kind of crypto scheming and, you have to do Farcaster or you have to do this and this, the less excited I am. I'm kind of like the absolute minimum of crypto involved, the better for the whole thing. And I don't even know why. It's just the crypto scene has become very nihilistic, I'd argue. And so maybe that's part of it. Jan Lucas Magone, thanks for the good vibes. Awesome to hear from you. Josh, setting sail once again. Thanks for the comment. Appreciate it, Josh. Lily Illo, great show as always. Awesome to hear from Lily. Just fantastic artist. AI artist. Braindead out of Australia. Braindead, great episode. Awesome to hear from you, BD. Wonderful pixel artist, Lena Eckhart. Great feedback, Adrian, as always. Thank you for discussing my work. You're right, I used AI. Okay, so there was AI in that work and treated it with pixelation during processing as a digital painting. Very cool. I suspected, Lena. Awesome to hear from you in very cool artwork. Sultry World GM, thank you for the comment. And Kurt Hustle Collective. Just rad. Love those guys. Here's Amelia Versace. I think there's a simple way to make the Mona Lisa more accessible. No cameras. This is really interesting. I stood back and took photos of all these people taking photos because it seems so absurd. As you see here. Yeah, it becomes like this. It's a real commentary on society, isn't it? What we see here. This is society. This is a front row seat on our world, right? It's all about getting the photo. Let's read what Amelia says here, because she captures it perfectly. It's not people viewing that makes it hard to access. It's people taking photos with their phones or using their selfie sticks. Again, kind of just with no sense of embarrassment here. I realize people want their photo, but if the trade-off is that more people can actually see this celebrated painting, I think it's a no-brainer. Reproduction's better than an iPhone photo behind bulletproof glass are ubiquitous in Paris and beyond. Many are bigger than the actual painting, I might add. So anyway, this is the madness. It's kind of interesting. It looks like a pretty young crowd. Interestingly. I mean, not entirely, and then you just see these, this is the kind of chaos around the Mona Lisa. So, of course, especially in France, they go, hey, at a certain point, they have to go, what are we doing here? We have to do something here. Neural Divine, great one, Adrian. Love these new works of Canex Apida. Absolutely, and we'll have like 3 or 4 more. What's kind of amazing, too, with digital is once you hit on your little formula, I mean, you can pull off Warholian and Picasso-like productivity, prolificness, if not more. That's pretty, again, pretty incredible. Lips in Black, hell yes, I was waiting for it. Just woke up, coffee, hit play. All right, let's go. Let's go, Black Lips. Lips in Black. Canex Apida. So here, Canex Apida generously sharing. I had this, hi, my friend, I had this about the cellular automata process. And here is an example of Canex Apida's work. A stable diffusion output generated with my Playdate LoRa. And so stable diffusion, I'm not sure what Playdate LoRa is, but maybe that's this thing here. The image is processed with a cellular automata script. So first, stable diffusion. Love this kind of fuzziness in the background. The image is captured with a cellular automata script that generates this kind of weird textures. The script processes the image looking for areas of color, then rendered with color with the automata. So the script, let's just read that again. The script processes the image looking for areas of color, then rendered the color with the automata, or I think with the kind of automatic patterning. Then I put the image in another script, again, combination, that lets me choose the color to animate. And I was kind of verging on this. Like I was kind of, so interesting. So you can choose whatever color's in there. You can just choose whichever color here to animate. So they're blind. Like Canex Apida, I'd argue, is blind when they're doing this because then they put in this stuff. They don't know what's going to happen. They put in the variables. Okay, let's try this. Both scripts run with a neural network of low intensity to search for all the information of the color of the pixels and transform it. It's all made with the power of Python. Here you can see how it's rendered on the image. Flowers, 3-color cellular automata painting flowers pixel by pixel. Turn the auto on, it has a lo-fi reggaeton, or the audio. So I'm actually gonna, just in case, so you see the process here. So fascinating, right? So Canex Apida very generously sharing this incredibly complex process here. Fascinating. Thank you for the comment. And look at this. And here it's Wolfram explication of the cellular automation. So this is pretty darn... so you think of that comment like, oh, I thought there was art here. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you, Canex Apida. That was so interesting. Libra Block, thanks for featuring my piece today. Lots more coming to the collection. Yeah, that looked fabulous. Video glitch. Amazing video as usual. Thank you. Tukes, hey, it's Tukes and Dance Vitar. Great to hear from you. Thank you, everybody. So we saw, I just wanted to make sure we hit Canex Apida there. This is interesting. Just from a commercial, just to see what everybody else is doing. David Zorner, I got this email, Catherine Bradford putting out new prints, and what I kind of liked about it is they put the prices. So here, and this is an edition of 25, there's 5 artist proofs, which are the ones that usually the artists keep. $4,500 each. Major artist Catherine Bradford here. I'd say probably in the last 10 years really kind of became a big deal. I could be, maybe it was earlier. Look, the Hanamula paper, 4-plate etching with aquatint. So Hanamula being a very good, high-quality paper. And so beautiful looking prints here. And here is more. So it's interesting to see. So I guess this is the creation of the print. Is this inkjet, though? Like, does it say? 4-plate etching with aquatint. So here it is. This is the 4-plate etching. I guess that's the copper that we see there. Fascinating. And you see, so in a sense, a couple of observations here. Look at how beautiful these are. A couple of observations is $4,500. We're not that far. Like, it's interesting because this is David Zwirner. This is like a top 3 gallery. I think some people would say Zwirner's going to be the heir to Gagosian's legacy to a certain degree. Some people have told me, or maybe we mentioned it in the show, or someone mentioned it. So born 1942. So anyways, look at that. And you see an early version here. So all very interesting. And again, the power of physical, just great artist here. So I wanted to share that. Cream Safa. So a Cream Safa work in Utrecht Central Station. I think that's in Holland. I'm not sure. But perfectly sized here for the 16 by 9 and a pixel art factory that Cream Safa pioneered that whole, which has become almost a genre unto itself, amazingly. This was super interesting. This is Dan Control. Do you see what I see? Always, Dan Control kind of is an artist that really, I feel like I share, I just really love what Dan Control is doing here, which is Dan Control is experimenting, as far as I can tell, with kind of revealing his process, if I'm not mistaken. Because what Dan Control generally does is put kind of like the wire, like the outlines of all of the work, then he puts the gradients on a separate layer, then removes the wires. But here, leaving seemingly the wires or putting even like a layer style on it or something, and getting a mix, right? It looks like some sort of layer style has been put on it. And mixing it's either multiply or screen, one of these things, hard, color, hard, whatever they're called. And then not putting in all of the gradients, or maybe putting it over top. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I love it. Again, Dan Control experimenting with the different iterations that his process brings. So just super interesting from him. And this is also interesting. This is Yuri J, who of course I follow. Some stages of Calliope. So this is super interesting. Look at the chair. Yuri J and his chairs and these interiors are getting incredibly painterly. So here is part of the process here. So you see what happens here, and already this beginning area, you see how rich it is. And then perhaps these were collaborations. So there's Vidal Herrera, who I believe collaborated with Yuri J on these. So maybe this is Vidal Herrera, and then Yuri J probably goes back in and then does a super process. You can hardly see the original, chair, but it's beautiful, isn't it? Like interesting, beautiful, challenging. Speaking of painterly, flying operation, Yuri J, this is from the Yuri J's more experimental account, edition of 1. I was like, these little kind of dabs of brush of paint are spectacular here. The whole thing is spectacular. And there is Yuri J. His signature is a paper airplane here. The mosaic filter flying over the city. This is just a wonderful painting. Again, this painterliness, this dabs of paint dripping. Fabulous. Now 79 Tezos at auction. So that'll be interesting to see what it goes for. This was a spectacular one. Sold out like almost instantly. I went to pick one up. Not sure what happened there. This collector has a strange collector of art, including a Mario Fidgetal. So yes, so here, beautiful work here from Mark Canik Zapata, playing a big Mario here, and we see again this combination seemingly of stable diffusion and cellular automata, as they're being called. This collector of abstract art is also a fan of Sabato's Echo. So here, I guess maybe somewhere is a Sabato Echo. Work here, which are some of the glitch ROMs that Sabato did of the Echo video game. And you see again, it's almost like expressionist painting here. Whether it's abstract expressionism or even just German expressionism, you just see kind of what look like random, irrational, just like we were discussing with Nuv and the framing device. Why? Again, upsetting our reason. And so part of the delight, we probably find it very refreshing. Here again, you see all this little chaos here, and we love it. At least I do. Some of us do. This is 20 Tezos, edition of 11. So doing spectacular. Collector showing his Scamra on screen. So, and I think, Scamra put out a tweet. Thanks, Pocobelli, for referencing me. in this, because we saw the people at the computers, of course, Skamra doing some work with that. So here, Canik Zapata putting out Skamra, what is it? Collector showing his Skamra screen. So just awesome, isn't it? So beautiful, nice small work here. Just a huge fan of these small ones. Only 1.54 megabytes. Just rad. This one's 4 megabytes. She's an avid collector of generative art, especially those composed of language. So these are just awesome. And then we see these wonderful edges. So combining again stable diffusion and the cellular automata. Another great one. This old collector has a Corey Archangel collection, and how he decides to dye his hair and collect in Tezos. So people can say what they want about the scene or about NFTs and digital art, but I submit it. I submit thus, to quote Dr. Johnson, we're kicking the stone, in a response to George Berkeley's theory of mind. Like, I refute it thus, as he said, kicking the stone. And here, once again, where else are you going to see anything like this in your visual experience, my friends? I'm not sure anywhere. I think we're in novel territory here, sailing through the sky here on a Friday afternoon now. Let's continue. 8-ball corner pocket. Waffles, Hasdrubal Waffle. Is this Cedar Plank? Who is this? This is Cedar Plank. So another beautifully chaotic work here. And as we see, all sorts of layered chaos here. And moving figures drawn across the screen almost chaotically. Again, doesn't like to spend too much time on the work, although who knows how long this took. This looks quite complex, this one, but works fast. And you gotta love it, frankly. Makes me want to work from imagination. I did it a little bit with the Pixel Art Inferno, and it's so liberating. And it feels so empowering. Because I often work from whether it's a screenshot or I use a lot of, references, so to speak, from, popular culture. There's something very powerful in just drawing. And that's what I see with Waffles. I love it. 8-ball corner pocket. And so offers coming in and sent over to a whole bunch of collectors, artists, enthusiasts. Let's continue. Zozo, Nature's Manifesto. This is Unknown Collector. Oh, sorry, this is Zozo. Here from by Zozo to Unknown Collector. So interesting, kind of big abstract work here. Nature's Manifesto. You have to love the title of this one. This sold for 150 Tezos, listed for sale. I believe, listed for 100 Tezos and sold, and then an offer coming in for 150. So the market is healthy. Here's Yoa-in on Rodeo AI Art section 260, minted here. So more cool AI art from Yoa-in. I suspect these are raw AI, but I know in the past, look at all these textures. Yeah, again, these criticisms of AI art, I mean, where else are you getting anything like this in your visual experience? Fisher's number 8, 302, picked up on Rodeo. And again, just more beautiful abstracts here from Yoa-in. Here's RJ with a cool composition here. Again, probably, if we had to guess, stable diffusion, but some other painterliness over top. Not sure if it's raw AI or not. Of course, I follow RJ. And just beautiful painterly textures here, great colors and everything. So you see the power of AI here. Pretty sure AI used in that work. More AI work, kind of shaking up the order of the curation here. Skamra, She Ruled the Grass. And we see a little bit of animation in this work by Skamra. And again, massive textures here and everything. And again, look at the painterliness of this AI artwork, all right? Us in the Woods, and again, almost like a JPEG artifacted out image, but beautifully rendered here, convincingly and persuasively rendered. So beautiful work here. Tezos, let us continue with a work sampled from VHS, a 2-second work, a landscape. I think Tezos out of, is it Vancouver? Just had Tezos on the program, or is it Montreal? Worked on RGB Montreal. Yes, worked in both cities, I think. Maybe in Montreal now. Did a wonderful space with Tezos just not even maybe 6 weeks ago. Here's Klaus, Composition 426, edition of 1. So approaching the 500 level and really changing things up here with the textures. So cool work from Klaus. As we continue, here is Ex-Mortal on Solana. Did this sell? How's the market on Solana? So this is for 1.23 Sol. Yeah, it's interesting. It's always worth going to where people are not going, right? It's always a good idea in the crypto world and just in general to kind of hang out where people aren't hanging out. So cool work here by Ex-Mortal. Because let's face it, like if you're a Solana art collector, you kind of maybe, and there's a lot of enthusiasts for certain cryptos, and they may be enthusiastic about art on Solana, and they go, oh, this person's putting out work when nobody else is, or few people are. I want to reward that person, and I want to collect that. Here's Neural Divine, just on X. More interesting AI artwork. Here's more No Hygiene. So here, as we see, more incredibly challenging, edgy work from what I want to call the Great No Hygiene. Super prolific and consistently weird. And 13 Tezos, 1 of 1, available. Here's Cap'n, also known as Fragments, edition of 1 for 75 Tezos. This is on-chain. Continuing these beautiful on-chain pixel artworks. Love that yellow, as well as the red on the gray. Gray background, beautiful, beautiful. Doomsday, cool, and kind of going from kind of a lighter pixelation to hard pixelation. These beautiful lines here, horizontal lines. Here's Sophie O'Gore, putting out more awesome work here. Nice small work. No internet, no, it's usually HTML. Here it's just pure GIF, I assume it is. So red, yellow, green, so traffic light for the title. Red, yellow, green circles here, and just more beautiful work still available for $380. I need to sell some work so I can keep collecting here. Tornado Rodriguez, this is also on-chain. PNG stored on-chain. Sangue Scuro, not sure, still working on my Spanish. I am learning Spanish, happy to say. So cool pixel artwork here by, kind of looks like a butterfly in a jar, all in 2 colors, right? 4.97 kilobytes. So 281 by 280. This is ripe for Bitcoin too. I will put out that video at some point here. Cap'n, Ex-Cowboy number 12. This is on Rodeo, so cool pixel art. More cool pixel art from Cowboy. From Cap'n. Doing the cowboy here, and this beautiful contrast between the moving pixels here and the static pixels, and a little bit of movement in here as well. Minimal colors, just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Nice kind of palette here. Almost looks like a filter of some kind on top, color filter. The world is but a room full of mirrors, so another work by Cap'n. This is Figments, another alias, and this rad series here. This is an edition of 16. Sold out at 6 Tezos. So the market continues to be healthy here. Awesomely. Here is Gogolitis with more astronomical works. Fragment Ring, edition of 20, and I believe this is sold out at 18 Tezos. Nice work. So it continues here, doesn't it? It's kind of interesting. I always wonder, like, is the market ever going to run out of money? Right? But it just seems to keep on, like, it hasn't stopped since I've started this program, which I find really interesting. Like, is that always new money coming in? Because not everybody is flipping and then getting money and then putting it back into the market. So it's quite amazing. I would say, like, there continues to be money being put into this market. And you can see why. Year of the Snake by Sabato. This is 8 Tezos, 88 cents. And you see why. These beautiful works here. Of course, it's Year of the Snake for Chinese New Year. I believe started a couple of days ago. Sabato celebrating the occasion. Kind of a fun, always a little bit of humor here with this little figure maybe being chased by the snake. Kind of got a video game vibe to it too. And then a little bit of a Chinese character there, I assume. And a little landscape. And so happy Year of the Snake. Edition of 66. And there are 41 left. Here's Ernesto Ash, Digital Entities. So a bit of a glitch work here. Kind of pixelation and glitch. Kind of a portrait of a certain kind here by Ernesto Ash. Pretty large file. Digital Entities number 10, edition of 1, available for 10 Tezos. AI glitch, so a lot of combination here. Interesting piece from Ernesto Ash. Here's Time. His name I was almost forgetting. Of course, this is Santiago. Beautiful, more abstract kind of pixel art work. Art, as Santiago says, True Shape of a Ghost, edition of 34 for 1 Tezos each. So pretty reasonable there. Here's Kutakola, Reset by Fire, cool kind of landscape work. And there is a little person making the fire. And as we see here, and big brushes, having fun, really, composing with these different brushes and textures here. Interesting background, interesting composition. Kind of a little bit of a, analogous, shall we say, to Ed Merola's kind of, improvisational style, just taking sampled brushes, having fun. Rest by Fire, edition of 1, still available, 8 Tezos. On-Chain DJ Merlin, this is not available. This was sold for 20 Tezos. This is by Ed Woods. More cool Petsky work. It's not easy to make Petsky original. Ed Woods does it. Cool DJ, cool subject matter too. Nice big margin kind of there, framing it. Here's another one, again with some texture. The Tezonator, Ed Woods, edition of 10 for $666. So almost selling out here. Maybe it did sell out. We'll look again. So cool. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator. Yeah, sold out at 3 Tezos, now $666. This is cool. Silva Santus, Teletransport. Rad. Nintendo Glitch ROM. Loved this still. That light one. Very, very interesting. I mean, again, the unlimited possibilities of digital art, right? Because you could take any of these stills as a beginning. And you could turn them into whole other remixes here. Look at that. Look at how long this is. These are actually, it continues here. 1,781 frames, 118 megabytes. Huge. Edition of 1, only 1 minted so far. Nice piece. Renato Mariani. So nice, simple, again, taking an operating system looking like a Windows 95 operating system element and repeating it and turning it into a composition and animating it. Very cool abstract here. Available for 1 Tezos. Rad. Netrider 2. This is by Perfect Loop. Pretty rad artwork here. Let's just see so offers coming in, accepting offers at 20, 25. So people loving it. Spending real money here on this piece. And you see the little rider down here. It's awesome. The enthusiasm of this market is incredibly exciting. Again, for those, the onboarding video is coming tomorrow. For those that are watching and want to participate, the onboarding video is coming tomorrow. Leave a question in the comments if you don't understand anything. If there are a lot of questions, I'll do a second video and do it again. Because why wouldn't you want to participate here? Renki, Koriyama. So Renki with a couple of rad works here. More animated abstracts, just a fun, looks like a big file there too. Edition of 1, another beautiful one. Renki, again, probably one of the most featured, if not the most featured artist on this show, amazingly. Just consistently putting out work, and it's always interesting. Fabulous. Caving Wild, so Logic Drop, artist that's been around Tezos for a while, consistent use of these kind of geometric abstracts, very cool work, kind of minimal color. Edition of 5 for $250, 1 gone so far. Cool artist. Here's Googly Grix 40 by eBoy. So eBoy continuing to put on rodeo and doing quite well. Almost a Space Invader theme to this one. Pretty rad. How many sold? 188 and 6 hours left. It's not bad at all. Louis Osborne, Patiently Waiting, edition of 20. So we see a suggestive looking figure here rolling something here with these little happy faces in green. Figures with bloodshot eyes that are blinking. That is hilarious. Patiently waiting for things to happen. Available for 420 or 42 Tezos. Selling out at 12 Tezos. Edition of 20. Trippy Collector picking up one. This is pretty cool. This is Ms. Paint. So the name has changed to Miss Paint. So now you might as well. It's an awesome name, Ms. Paint. Also perhaps Microsoft Paint. Number 24. Doing a Cool little animation of what looks like Mario Brothers on Game Boy. Delightful. This little screen here, like Mario Brothers on Game Boy, like it is so beautiful. So celebrating it here in this beautiful artwork, still available for 5 Tezos, only 2 gone. How is that possible? I need to sell some work to collect some work here. No head on my shoulder. This is Sumi Ryusi. Kind of a broken vase almost as a face, so kind of a symbolic looking work. Almost has a bit of a surrealism quality to it, and a happy face paint, taped on, so kind of a darker work here. Beautifully executed grass. Beautiful painting. Edition of 15 for 5 Tezos each, 2 gone. Here is The Myth doing David Lynch. Have you seen this man? And so, not sure, I should know the reference, but I don't. Beautiful work here with a myth blood dripping from the eye. It looks like Lynch here, portrayed in this beautiful red background. Reminds me of the Basquiat boxer that we saw. That Myth has done, which if I had more time, I would bring up. Just awesome. That is on Rodeo. Only 80, but 80 is still pretty good. But you wonder, again, what would that have done on Tezos? Just for curiosity, time, also known as Santiago. So we're back to Santiago, collage of AI output, shelf full of life coaches. Another great title from the very literary. I think he used to be a poet before entering painting, or at least simultaneously. And you see the poetry. You see the visual poetry here by Santiago. Brilliant and beautiful. AI artwork, and no other way to make that. Collage of AI outputs. Beautiful. Edition of 1, 200 Tezos. Here is another AI artwork. This is Strange Thing, GM Art Family, and seeming to move beyond, again, the 15th century, 16th century, the Renaissance here. So more interesting work is Strange Thing starts to tackle the history of art. Other centuries here, seemingly. Almost like a pope-like or some sort of cardinal figure. Bosque Gracias, 1 acre, a collage by Bosque Gracias here. And so interesting overlapping here of different elements. Of course, we know the slides that are cut together. Here are some newspaper articles cut together. The Stop the Fires Patagonia live streaming hosted by Bosque Gracias. So they're trying to raise money. A lot of people's homes were burnt down in Patagonia. So 100% of earnings will go directly to build houses, collect and support. So by all means, support Bosque Gracias there. PP Universal with what looks like a physical. I can't read the Spanish, but I see something about music and jazz. But doesn't it look like a physical? And so I guess that's PP work. It's quite a beautiful artwork that PP has made here. Just minimal color. Beautiful work from PP Universal. I assume a physical. Edition of 3, 5 Tezos. Here is Charlie Stein, good friend actually in Berlin here, great painter, working with the Kristen Yellerdy, if I'm pronouncing that right, gallery, very exciting gallery, just opened a new location. Unfortunately, I was in Vancouver at during their opening party, so she's going to open in London, and these really cool, kind of looks like shiny pillows or something. So soft portrait, interesting, part of Light Under Pressure, opening February 12th in London. Bobachik Matiha running for fun, and so just more beautiful work. This is 2020, but what an awesome work here. I just love that artist, as you probably know by now if you watch this show. Here's Christine Wang, courtesy of It's Not Gallery, famous, kind of doing memes. And here you see Solana, ETH, Bitcoin, Doge, just hilarious. Cool looking painting, great color. Doing it with acrylic, interestingly, just almost an acrylic rendition of memes. And here is Masque, Green Room. So a GLB, and this is part of the Masque rooms that we were looking at earlier. So here is a GLB done by Masque. Now, I think Masque is a collective, so I'm not sure if this is a collaborative work or everything, but yeah, you see virtual sculpture there. And that's your show, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. The onboarding video for Tezos is coming tomorrow. So if you're waiting for that, it is coming. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care.